Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the main command room of Earth's biggest space station. The lights were dim, and the air felt heavy with worry. In front of him, a blue light showed the faces of 12 alien creatures from across the galaxy. These were the leaders of the Galactic Council, and they did not look happy. Morrison had gray hair and deep lines on his face from years of fighting in space wars. He wore his blue uniform with pride, and his hands stayed calm at his sides. Next, to him stood Dr. Lisa Carter, a smart woman who had spent her whole life learning about alien races. She knew their languages, their customs, and their ways of thinking. Captain Ryan Brooks stood behind them both. He was younger than the others, with brown hair and quick eyes that missed nothing. His job was to help Morrison and keep track of everything that happened during important meetings like this one. The alien in the center of the group started to speak. His name was Counselor Vextar, and he looked like a giant bug with 6 arms and big eyes that never blinked. When he talked, his mouth parts clicked together in a way that made humans feel sick. Humans have become too bold, Vextar said. His voice came through the speakers like the sound of breaking glass. Your people have built colonies in space sectors that belong to us. This breaks the old laws that keep peace in the galaxy. Morrison did not move. He had heard threats before, and this alien did not scare him. But he listened carefully to every word. Another alien spoke next. This one was made of what looked like living crystal, and when it moved, light danced across its body. The humans called it Shard Singer Kell, because of the musical sounds it made when it talked. The human race will stop all colony building in the outer rim sectors, the crystal being said. You will also give us your warships and let us watch over all your new inventions and discoveries. Dr. Carter felt her heart beat faster. She had studied these aliens for 20 years, and she knew this demand was not normal. The Council had never asked any race to give up their entire military before. Something was very wrong here. Captain, Brooks felt his hands turn into fists. The aliens were asking humans to give up everything they had worked for. Humans had found their own way to travel faster than light. They had built their colonies with their own hands and sweat. They had never attacked anyone or broken any real treaties. A third alien joined the conversation. This one was tall and covered in scales that changed color when it felt different emotions. Right now the scales were dark red, which meant anger. The creature's name was Counselor HFY, and it was known for being cruel. Morrison finally spoke. His voice was steady and strong. What happens if we say no? The room became very quiet. All 12 aliens looked at each other, and their scales, crystals, and bug parts seemed to glow with dangerous light. HFY leaned forward, and its scales turned black. Then we will release the Devourers. The words hit the humans like a punch, to the stomach. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Devourers, even though most people tried not to think about them. They were living creatures that ate everything in their path. They could destroy entire planets in just a few days, turning all life into nothing but empty space and dead rock. The Council claimed they had caught these creatures long ago and locked them away to protect the galaxy, but everyone suspected the truth. The Council had not just captured the Devourers. They had turned them into weapons. Dr. Carter felt her face turn pale, but she tried not to show her fear. She had read every report about the Devourers that she could find. If the Council really did control them, then they had the power to kill every living thing in the galaxy. Morrison did not let his face show any emotion. He had fought against space pirates, rebel colonies, and alien raiders. He had seen his friends die in battle and had made hard choices that saved millions of lives. He was not going to be scared by threats, even threats of complete destruction. We need time to think about your offer, Morrison said. He used the word offer, even though everyone knew it was really a threat. Vextar's bug eyes seemed to get bigger. You have 72 Earth hours to decide. Choose well, humans. Choose to live. The blue light disappeared, and the aliens were gone. The command room was quiet except for the soft hum of the space station's machines. Captain Brooks was the first to speak. Sir, they want us to surrender everything. Our ships, our colonies, our freedom. They want to make us into slaves. Morrison nodded slowly. Yes, they do. But they have made one big mistake, Ryan. Dr. Carter looked at Morrison with questions in her eyes. What mistake is that, Admiral? Morrison walked over to the big window that looked out into space. He could see Earth in the distance, a blue and green ball of life floating in the darkness. Around it were hundreds of human ships, some big and some small, all ready to defend their home. They think we will break when they put pressure on us, Morrison said. They have seen other alien races give up when things got hard. They think humans are the same as everyone else. He turned back to face his team. But they do not understand what makes humans different. We have never bowed down to bullies, whether they come from our own planet or from the stars. Brooks felt a fire start to burn in his chest. What do we do, sir? Morrison looked at both of his friends and fellow officers. These people had served with him for years. They had faced impossible odds before and had always found a way to win. We go back to Earth, Morrison said. We tell our leaders what the Council wants. Then we let humanity decide what kind of people we really are. Dr. Carter understood what Morrison meant. In 72 hours, humanity would have to choose between safety and freedom. They could live as slaves under alien rule, or they could fight for the right to make their own choices. The countdown had begun. Soon the galaxy would learn what happened when someone tried to threaten the human race. They would discover that some things were more important than survival, and that Earth's children had never learned how to kneel. The big meeting room on Earth was full of worried voices. President Elena Rodriguez sat at the head of a long table, looking at representatives from every nation and colony that humans had built. The news from Admiral Morrison had reached Earth just 6 hours ago, and already the leaders of humanity were gathered to decide their fate. General Marcus Stone hit the table with his fist, making the water glasses jump. They want us to give up everything we have built, he said, his voice full of anger. If we say yes to this, humans become nothing more than pets for these aliens. Secretary of Defense Patricia Wells stood up and pressed a button on her computer. Pictures appeared on the wall showing alien ships from all across the galaxy. The numbers were frightening. Look at what we face, she said. 12 different alien races, thousands of warships, and now they say they will use the Devourers against us if we do not obey. Dr. Benjamin Clark shook his head. He was Earth's best expert on alien life forms, and he had spent years studying the creatures that lived on other worlds. The Devourers are not just dangerous to us, he said. If the Council really lets them loose, they could destroy all life in the galaxy. These aliens are playing with forces that could kill everyone. Admiral Morrison had returned to Earth as fast as his ship could travel. Now he stood before all these important people still wearing his space uniform. I have spent 15 years watching our alien neighbors, he said. This demand they made is not really about the colonies we built. It is about what we might become. President Rodriguez leaned forward. Explain what you mean, Admiral. Morrison walked over to the wall screen and changed the pictures. Now it showed charts about how fast different alien races had learned to travel between stars. Humans learned to travel faster than light in 40 years, he said. It took the Zephyrians 300 years to do the same thing. Our colonies grow 4 times faster than theirs. We learn new things and build new machines faster than any race they have ever seen. Captain Brooks, who had come back to Earth with Morrison, added more information that made everyone feel cold inside. Our spy ships have seen huge numbers of alien war vessels moving toward our space. The Council is not just making threats. They are getting ready to attack us. The debate went on for hours. Some people wanted to try talking with the aliens to find a peaceful solution. Others wanted to start building weapons and preparing for war right away. The room was full of fear, anger, and uncertainty. Finally, Dr. Carter stood up. She had been quiet during most of the meeting, just listening to what everyone else had to say. I have studied alien cultures for 20 years, she began. Every one of these races has a history of giving up when someone stronger than them made demands. They expect us to do the same thing. She walked over to the computer and brought up pictures from human history. The screen showed battles, wars, and moments when humans had faced impossible choices. But they do not understand what makes humans different from everyone else they have ever met. The pictures changed to show humans fighting against much stronger enemies throughout their history. There were images of small armies defeating huge empires, of people standing up to dictators even when it meant certain death, of humans choosing to fight for what they believed in instead of taking the easy path. When strong enemies demanded tribute, some nations paid and some nations fought. Dr. Carter continued. When evil rulers tried to take over the world, some countries surrendered and others resisted. When the impossible seemed too hard to overcome, humanity has always made the same choice. The room became very quiet as everyone looked at the pictures of human courage and determination. President Rodriguez called for a vote. Every person in the room had to decide what humanity should do. Should they accept the alien demands and live as a controlled species, or should they fight for their freedom even if it meant they might all die? One by one, each representative voted. The decision was the same from every nation and colony. Not a single person voted to surrender. Admiral Morrison, President Rodriguez said in her most official voice, "Prepare our space fleets for battle. Dr. Carter, write our answer to the Galactic Council. General Stone, begin getting our military ready on all our worlds." "What should our message to the Council say?" Morrison asked. President Rodriguez looked out the window at the blue sky of Earth. Somewhere up there, beyond the clouds and atmosphere, alien fleets were getting ready to attack her world and her people. But her voice was strong and clear when she answered, "Tell them that humanity chooses freedom over fear. We choose dignity over survival. We choose what is right over what is easy. We will not surrender." As the meeting ended, Captain Brooks walked up to Morrison. The young officer looked worried but determined. "Sir, are we really going to fight the entire galaxy?" Morrison looked out at Earth's peaceful sky. He thought about all the humans who had lived and died on this world, and all the ones who now lived on distant colonies among the stars. He thought about children who had not yet been born, and what kind of future they would have. "Ryan," he said, "our ancestors faced impossible odds before. They stood against empires that seemed too powerful to defeat. They fought against ideas and armies that looked unstoppable. Today we follow their example." The message was prepared and sent out into space, traveling faster than light to reach the Galactic Council. Earth's answer was simple and clear. No. In alien council chambers across the galaxy, creatures that had ruled through fear for thousands of years received humanity's response. They could not believe what they were reading. No race had ever refused their demands before. No species had ever chosen to fight rather than submit. But they did not understand humans very well. They did not know that throughout their history, whenever humans were told they had to choose between freedom and safety, they almost always chose freedom. They did not know that humans would rather die fighting than live on their knees. The countdown continued. In less than 3 days, the galaxy would learn what happened when someone tried to force humanity to surrender. They would discover that some species could not be broken by threats, no matter how terrible those threats might be. Earth began to prepare for war. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. News of humanity's refusal spread from world to world, and alien leaders everywhere felt shocked and confused. In the great council chambers, panic and anger filled the air as 12 different species tried to understand what had just happened. Counselor Vexitar ran around the room on his 6 bug legs, his voice making terrible clicking sounds. "This cannot be real," he screamed. "No species has ever said no to our demands. It is impossible." But Earth was already moving. Every human colony, space station, and military base received the same urgent message: prepare for war. Admiral Morrison worked day and night with Fleet Admiral Karen Phillips to bring together every ship that humans had built. The factories that usually made civilian ships quickly changed to making weapons and war vessels. Workers who had never built military equipment learned fast how to make the tools that might save their species. Dr. Carter spent her time going through every piece of information that humans had collected about the Council species. What she found made her blood run cold. She rushed to Morrison's command center with news that changed everything. "Jake," she said, bursting through the door where Morrison was planning battle strategies with Captain Brooks and strategic analyst Helen Murphy. I found something terrible about the Devourers. Everyone gathered around as Carter put her research on the main screen. The information showed historical records from across the galaxy, some of them thousands of years old. The Council says the Devourers are an ancient weapon they captured and contained, Carter explained. But I found records of 3 different species that tried to fight the Council over the past 1,000 years. Each time those species got too strong or too independent, the Devourers appeared and destroyed them completely. Morrison felt sick as he understood what Carter was telling them. You think the Council created the Devourers? Worse than that, Carter said, her voice shaking. I think the Devourers are how the Council has stayed in power all this time. Whenever a species becomes too advanced or too free, they release these creatures to wipe them out. Captain Brooks stared at the evidence on the screen. They have been committing murder on a galactic scale. Not just murder, Helen Murphy added quietly. Genocide. They have been destroying entire civilizations for centuries. The news made everyone in the room feel both angry and determined. The Council was not just threatening humanity. They had likely killed billions of innocent beings throughout galactic history. On the industrial worlds, Chief Engineer Alex Turner was leading the biggest construction project humans had ever attempted. Shipyards that normally took months to build one vessel were now producing warships in weeks. We are not just building machines, Turner told his tired workers. We are building hope. Every ship that leaves these yards carries humanity's promise that we will never give up. Dr. Catherine Hayes was working on weapons that had only existed in theory before. Along with physicist Dr. Paul Martinez, she made a discovery that would change the course of the war. Jake, you need to see this, Hayes said during a secret meeting. We found something about human brains that makes us different from every other species in the galaxy. She showed Morrison and his team brain scans that compared humans to other intelligent aliens. Human consciousness works with quantum energy fields in a way that no other species can match. Our ship computers do not just process information like alien machines do. When humans connect with them, they actually think and feel. Admiral Phillips was gathering reports from every corner of human space. Jake, the numbers still look bad for us, she said honestly. We have 2,847 ships ready for battle. Our spies say the Council can bring over 15,000 vessels against us. Morrison studied the tactical displays that showed enemy positions. Karen, numbers will not win this war. Smart planning and courage will. While Earth prepared for battle, Ambassador Daniel Foster was working on a different kind of mission. He was secretly contacting the smaller alien species that had also suffered under Council rule, but had been too afraid to fight back. His efforts brought surprising results. The Kithura, a peaceful race of traders, quietly began sharing intelligence about Council ship movements. The Vorthon Republic, which had been crushed by the Council decades earlier, offered to let human ships use their hidden bases. Most shocking of all, some members of the Council itself began sending secret messages expressing doubts about using the Devourers. They are not as united as they want us to believe, Foster reported to Morrison. Fear has held their alliance together for centuries, but some of them are starting to question whether destroying all life in the galaxy is worth maintaining their power. As the 72-hour deadline got closer, Morrison prepared to speak to all the human fleets. Ships from every corner of human space had gathered around Earth, creating a metal constellation that sparkled in the sunlight. Morrison's voice reached every vessel, from the biggest battle cruisers to the smallest patrol ships. Tomorrow, we face an enemy that thinks we will break under pressure, he said. They have watched other species surrender and disappear into history. They expect us to do the same. But they have not studied us carefully enough. They do not understand that humanity's greatest strength has never been our technology or our numbers. It has been our refusal to accept defeat when we are fighting for what is right. We fight not just for ourselves, but for every species that has ever been threatened with destruction for becoming too strong or too free. Today we show the galaxy that bullies and tyrants cannot rule forever. In the command centers of human ships, officers checked their weapons and engines one last time. In the crew quarters, soldiers wrote letters to families they might never see again. On Earth, children looked up at the stars and wondered if their parents would come home. The countdown entered its final hours. Soon, humanity would either stand as a free species or face complete destruction. But one thing was certain: they would face whatever came together, as one people united in their determination to remain free. Captain Brooks checked the time display on his ship's main screen. 18 hours until the deadline, sir. Morrison nodded grimly. 18 hours until we find out what we are really made of, Ryan. The galaxy held its breath. In less than a day, the longest period of peace in galactic history would end, and the greatest war ever fought would begin. The Council did not wait for the deadline to end. At exactly 8 in the morning, Earth time, space itself seemed to tear apart as the largest war fleet in galactic history appeared in the Sol system. Captain Brooks stood on the bridge of his destroyer, the UES Valiant, watching in amazement and terror as enemy ships materialized out of nowhere. Ship after ship appeared until the darkness of space was filled with alien vessels of every shape and size. 15,436 ships, reported Lieutenant Nancy Webb from her sensor station. Her voice shook as she spoke. The numbers. Sir, they brought their entire military force. The alien fleet was like nothing humans had ever seen before. There were sleek Zephyrian dreadnoughts that looked like metal sharks, crystalline Keltar vessels that sang with deadly music, and the nightmare black ships of the Vextar swarm that seemed to absorb light itself. Admiral Morrison, commanding the human fleet from his flagship UES Liberty, opened communications to every human ship in the system. All vessels, this is Admiral Morrison. Remember why we are here. We are not just fighting for Earth. We are fighting for the right of every species to live free from fear. The battle exploded across multiple dimensions of space. The Council's strategy was simple but brutal: surround the human fleet and crush their spirit with overwhelming force. They expected the humans to surrender once they saw how hopeless their situation was. But humanity had used those 72 hours of preparation well. Captain Andrea Lopez commanded a stealth frigate called the UES Ghost. Her squadron used new quantum technology that only human minds could properly control, allowing them to appear inside enemy formations without warning. This is for everyone who could not fight back, Lopez whispered as her ship's weapons destroyed a Vextar command vessel in a burst of brilliant light. The Council quickly realized they had made their first mistake. They had expected humans to fight like other species, in careful formations that had been perfected over thousands of years. Instead, humans fought with deadly creativity and unpredictable tactics. Commander Steve Parker coordinated swarms of small attack drones that moved with impossible coordination. They cannot track our movements, he reported with grim satisfaction. The quantum-linked pilots are thinking faster than their computers can process information. But despite their initial success, the numbers began to tell the real story. The human fleet was smaller and was slowly being destroyed by the massive alien force. Admiral Phillips, commanding the second battle group, made a hard decision. All ships execute Protocol 7, she ordered. Fall back to the inner system. As the human fleet retreated toward Earth, the Council forces followed eagerly. They thought they were chasing a broken enemy toward final victory. They had no idea they were flying directly into humanity's trap. Dr. Carter, monitoring the battle from the command center on Earth, watched as her months of theoretical work became deadly reality. Jake, they are entering the field, she reported to Morrison. Morrison's face was grim but determined. Activate the solar array. The Council had no way of knowing what humanity had really been doing during those months of preparation. While they built ships and weapons, human scientists had also turned their own sun into the ultimate weapon. Hidden solar collectors, disguised as routine satellites, had been gathering and focusing stellar energy into a quantum field that covered the entire inner solar system. When the field activated, something happened that had never been seen before in galactic history. The Devourer storage containers aboard hundreds of Council ships began to vibrate and glow with dangerous energy. Admiral Morrison opened a communication channel that reached every ship in both fleets. This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the United Earth Forces. You came here to threaten us with extinction. You brought biological weapons capable of destroying all life in the galaxy. But you made one crucial mistake. On the Council flagship, Counselor, Vextar ran around his bridge in panic as his ship's alarm screamed warnings about massive quantum problems in the Devourer containment systems. "You thought we would fight your war by your rules," Morrison continued, his voice carrying across space to every alien vessel. "Instead, we decided to end the war entirely. Dr. Carter's modification of the quantum field was not designed to destroy the Devourers. It was much more clever than that. The field reprogrammed the deadly creatures, giving them new instructions that overrode thousands of years of Council control. The Devourers will no longer obey the Council's commands," Carter announced over the open channel so every alien could hear. "They are now programmed to consume artificial containment systems and destroy themselves when they encounter organic life." The Council fleet watched in horror as their ultimate weapon turned against them. Across hundreds of ships, Devourer containers began to fail. But instead of releasing the deadly swarm to consume everything in their path, the creatures simply dissolved harmlessly into space. The aliens had built their entire strategy around the threat of total destruction. Now that threat was gone, and they found themselves facing an enemy that had no fear of their most powerful weapon. Captain Brooks, his ship damaged but still fighting, led the counterattack as the Council fleet fell into chaos. "All ships, advance," he ordered. "Show them what Earth's children can do when we fight for our freedom." The battle turned into a complete defeat for the Council. Their formations broke apart as ship captains panicked. Some tried to flee, others tried to fight, and many simply shut down their weapons in confusion and terror. Human ships pressed their advantage ruthlessly. Years of being threatened and intimidated fueled their attack as they pursued the retreating aliens across the solar system. "Sir, we are receiving surrender requests from multiple Council vessels," Lieutenant Webb reported, hardly believing her own words. Morrison's response echoed across the galaxy and would be remembered forever. "Surrender is accepted only on unconditional terms. The age of Council tyranny ends today." One by one, Council ships began powering down their weapons and submitting to human boarding parties. The species that had ruled the galaxy through fear and intimidation for thousands of years were surrendering to a race they had tried to enslave just hours before. Captain Lopez, her stealth ship now hunting down fleeing Council vessels, opened a channel to one of the enemy commanders. "You can run, but you cannot hide from justice," she told the alien captain. "The galaxy will be free whether you help us or not." As more and more Council ships raised white flags of surrender, Admiral Phillips coordinated the massive task of taking control of the enemy fleet. "Jake, this is unbelievable," she reported to Morrison. "They are giving up faster than we can process their surrenders. The battle that was supposed to end human independence instead ended Council dominance." As the last alien ships either surrendered or fled into deep space, the galaxy realized that everything had changed forever. The species that had ruled through fear had been broken by a race that refused to be afraid. The creatures that had threatened genocide had been defeated by people who chose freedom over safety. Morrison looked out at the debris field that had once been the most powerful fleet in galactic history. Human ships moved among the wreckage, rescuing alien survivors and securing dangerous technology. "Signal all human vessels," Morrison ordered. "The Council is finished. Now we build something better." 6 months after the Battle of Sol, the galaxy looked completely different. The Galactic Council's rule had collapsed overnight, and something new was growing in its place. Admiral Morrison now served as Earth's representative for galactic affairs. He stood before a gathering of 47 different alien species in a meeting hall, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of the Council's dark chambers designed to frighten visitors, this new assembly met on a space station built together by 12 different races working as equals. "The time of rule by fear is over," Morrison announced to the diverse group of delegates. "Today, we create the Galactic Federation, a government based on the free choice of its members, not on threats and intimidation." Dr. Carter, now serving as the Federation's first Secretary of Relations between Species, presented the charter that would change galactic civilization forever. Every species, no matter how small their military or how simple their technology, will have an equal voice in Federation decisions. The change had not been easy. Captain Brooks, now promoted to Federation Admiral, had spent months talking with former Council species who struggled to understand a world without absolute authority over others. The Vextar have actually been very helpful, he reported to Morrison during one of their regular meetings. Once they realized we were not planning to destroy them for what they did in the past, they became valuable allies in building the new system. The most important discovery came from Ambassador Foster's investigation into the Council's dark history. Working with Dr. Hayes and a team of scientists who studied ancient alien cultures, they uncovered evidence of 14 species that had been completely wiped out by the Devourers over the past 1,000 years. They were not destroyed because they were aggressive or dangerous, Dr. Hayes announced to the assembled delegates. They were eliminated because they innovated. Every species that developed technology or ideas beyond what the Council approved was marked for complete destruction. The revelation sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Species that had spent centuries believing the Council protected them from dangerous threats learned they had actually been living under a regime that murdered anyone who might challenge their power. President Rodriguez, speaking from Earth during the Federation's founding ceremony, addressed the entire galaxy. Humanity does not seek to replace the Council's tyranny with our own. We seek to ensure that no species ever again faces extinction for the crime of growing too strong or thinking too freely. The new Federation faced immediate challenges. Captain Lopez, now commanding the Federation security force, dealt with raiders and pirates who tried to take advantage of the confusion left by the Council's collapse. The difference is, she explained to her mixed crews of humans and aliens, we are not fighting to control others. We are fighting to protect everyone's right to be free. Dr. Martinez, working alongside alien scientists from dozens of different worlds, made breakthrough discoveries that revolutionized technology throughout the galaxy. When species share knowledge freely instead of hiding it out of fear, innovation happens at an incredible speed. The quantum consciousness technology that had given humanity its advantage in battle was freely shared with all Federation members. Soon, ships throughout the galaxy hummed with hybrid artificial intelligences that combined human intuition with alien logic and processing power. Chief Engineer Turner supervised the construction of massive shipyards where former enemies now worked side by side. A Zephyrian engineer solved a problem yesterday that had stumped our best human minds for months, he told his mixed teams with wonder. Cooperation really is more powerful than competition. But perhaps the most important change was in how beings throughout the galaxy thought about power and government. Admiral Phillips, now the Federation's defense coordinator, established military principles unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Federation forces exist to protect freedom, not to conquer territory, she announced to her officers. Our strength will be measured not by the fear we inspire in others, but by the safety and liberty we preserve for all. As Morrison looked out at the diverse gathering of species working together to build something better than what had come before, he reflected on humanity's journey from a small, isolated world to the catalyst for galactic freedom. Admiral, Captain, Brooks approached with the latest reports from across Federation space. The Kithara want to contribute their trading networks to help connect all Federation worlds. The Vorthan Republic is offering their shipyards for Federation use. Even some of the former Council leadership species are requesting full membership instead of just observer status. Morrison nodded, feeling deep satisfaction at how the galaxy was healing. The Council ruled through fear because they believed that was the only way to maintain order, but they never understood the most powerful force in the universe. What is that, sir? Brooks asked. Hope, Ryan. The belief that tomorrow can be better than today and that people will work together to make it happen when they are free to choose. The changes continued to spread throughout the galaxy. On former Council worlds, new governments formed based on the consent of the governed rather than the threat of destruction. Species that had hidden their innovations for fear of being eliminated now shared their discoveries openly. Dr. Carter established universities where beings from different worlds could learn together. We are not just building a new government, she explained to the first mixed classes of students. We are building a new way of thinking about what civilizations can accomplish when they trust each other. Former Council enforcers found new purpose as Federation peacekeepers. Captain Walker, a Zephyrian who had once terrorized smaller species, now protected trade routes and helped settle disputes peacefully. I spent 300 years believing that fear was the only way to maintain order, he told Lopez during a joint patrol mission. Your species taught us that respect and cooperation work much better. As the Federation's first year progressed, humanity achieved something that had never happened before in galactic history. They had not only defeated tyranny, but had inspired an entire galaxy to choose cooperation over domination. The species that had dared to say no to an impossible demand had shown the universe that the most powerful weapon against oppression was not advanced technology or superior numbers. It was the simple, unwavering refusal to surrender the principles that made life worth living. Trade flourished between worlds that had once feared each other. Art and culture flowed freely across species barriers. Children grew up learning about alien friends instead of alien threats. Morrison stood on the observation deck of the Federation's new headquarters, looking out at ships from dozens of different worlds working together in perfect harmony. You know what the best part is, Ryan? He asked Brooks, who had joined him. What is that, sir? We did not just win a war. We proved that freedom is contagious. Once people see that they can live without fear, they never want to go back to the old ways. The galaxy would never be the same. Somewhere among the stars, new civilizations looked up at the night sky and knew that freedom was not just a dream. It was a reality worth fighting for, and worth preserving for future generations who deserved to live without fear. The Council had tried to bend humanity with blackmail and threats. Instead, Earth's resolve had shaken the galaxy and rebuilt it as a place where all beings could reach for the stars together.